Yo, what's good, YouTube? This is Jay from TNJ, and welcome to the offseason, coming off of a wild card loss and to the Jets, who ended up losing to the eventual Super Bowl champions. You could just see the Jets and the Bills lost in the next round after we lost, so they didn't get much further, but a good year for the AFC East. Now, Sherwin Finney is our only award winner this year. He wins Defensive Rookie of the Year in the AFC. Just checking around to see where our other guys lined up. Xavier Howard was the closest to winning Best DB, and Jason Sanders wins Best Kicker. I don't really count that because it's pretty easy to win that award every single year if you just kick the football. Now, Sherwin Finney gets an upgrade from that. He is at 80 overall to start season number 2 for him, as now we hop into the offseason. Good news for our division. Aaron Rodgers retires after 19 seasons, so that will be the end of him. We will see what the Jets end up doing. Now, they still do have Zach Wilson, who was backing him up, but who knows if they go with him. And then for us, Tyrod Taylor retires, and our offensive coordinator, Dan Hampton, also retires. So as we hop into the offseason, I think a good question is, what are we doing in the draft? Because our defense is actually pretty good. We had some injuries which caught up to us at the end of the year. We also have to answer the question of quarterback. And the top quarterback in this draft is Justin Parsons out of Virginia. We will talk about him a little bit later. Dwayne Black is projected to go to us. I'm not sure why that is. I added him to our favorites, but he's not the top guy in our favorites, so I'm not really sure how that logic works. And then just looking at the rest of the top 10, we have a couple of guys we're interested in that we will talk about in a little bit. Now, we do have a first round pick this year. I picked number 20. We have 2 second rounds, 36 and 52, a 4th, 2 5ths, a 6, and a 7 this draft. So we will see what we do this year. I'm not sure if we will move up. This doesn't seem like a draft that you would move up for a quarterback, but they do have one good guy. So I want to look at our top 5 guys on the board here, and these are guys that I'm very interested in drafting. The first is Luke Lynch. Look at these attributes. This guy is a projected 2nd or 3rd round pick, and he looks like the best player in the draft. I mean, A's all across the board. We will actually have him as a focused player later in this episode, and we will unlock all of his ratings. But I mean, this guy is an absolute monster. It does help that he blocked for the best quarterback in the nation, and I guess that kind of helped Justin Parsons out, who we will talk about in a second. But Lynch was excellent. He had good technique. He was an excellent run blocker, pass blocker. He can play interior offensive line, and he blocked for the best quarterback in the draft. That leads us to Justin Parsons, a guy who is mobile, a guy who can run, but we'll see if he can translate that to the NFL. Look at these player notes. He's never seen a window he can't throw through. And then also he loves to run the football, a fast flicking throwing motion. I think that's the things that I value. I value a fast motion. I value that you can be mobile, and as long as he can make the short throws, I think we can develop the deep accuracy, much like with Kellen Mond. You know, Mond was pretty good at throwing the football short, better than Tua was. Tua missed a lot of short throws. I'm not even sure why that is, but Tua missed a lot of short throws. So hopefully Parsons, if we do end up drafting him, can make those short throws. We're definitely looking for the quarterback of the future here this offseason, whether that's in the draft or in free agency. We'll have to see. I'm not really sure. But Parsons is kind of close to the top of the list. Now, he's projected to go number 19 overall to the Los Angeles Rams, who picked before us. So we'll have to see if he stays on the board. Now, let's go down the draft board here a little bit into the 3rd and 4th round. A guy who I'm looking at is Lamar Devine. Now, one reason why I'm looking at him is mostly because of his player notes. Always looking to intercept passes. His motor's always running hot. He avoids getting flagged so that pass interference won't get called a whole lot. And he's a guy that I could groom for the future. Now, we have 3 cornerbacks on our roster right now who are our top 3. It's Byron Jones, Xavier Howard, and then also Trayvon Roberts, who we drafted in the I believe it was the 2nd round a couple of years ago. And Devine could be added to that mix because Xavier Howard and Byron Jones will both be free agents after this next season. Next, I want to move over to safety now. We drafted Timmy Obi last season in the 2nd round, but man, did he have a disappointing first year. I kind of had to sit him halfway through the season because, you know what, he just wasn't making plays. I had to kind of switch him in with Brandon Jones, but Bob Dorsey is a guy who can play that strong safety position and help out Javon Holland for sure. And Dorsey does have decent ball skills, but where he does excel is that tackling ability and his ability to get after the football. So we'll have to keep our eye on Bob Dorsey. To round out our top 5, we will look at a left tackle. Our offensive line definitely needs some work. Now, I am happy about our left tackles and right tackles right now. So Will Henry is a left tackle. He could slide inside, or we can move DJ Yates Jr., who is our starting left tackle right now, inside as well. But Henry is pretty good. He played for a pretty good Oregon team. We'll see if he can translate those skills. He's projected to go in the back half of the 1st round. We'll have to see if that holds up. Now we head into the re-signing phase, and I said last episode I wasn't sure if Kellen Mond was a free agent because just of how that looks on the interface. It looks like, you know, guys that have 1 year left look the same as guys that are hitting free agency, so I wasn't sure. But our interior offensive linemen are all hitting free agency. Robert Hunt is our right guard. He had one of the greatest plays in football history for a lineman, I would say, picking up that screen and almost taking it to the house, but it was called for a flag. Matt Paradis is decent, but he's a little older. And then Solomon Kindly as well at left guard. Now, the one thing about Solomon Kindly is he is not a good pass protector. I mean, he is absolutely terrible. A lot of the pressures that we gave up came from that left side. So I'm going to go after one of these 3 guys, and I think it's going to be Robert Hunt. He is very good at blocking for the run. We're going to offer him about a 3-year, almost $11 million deal, and he will accept that. I am realistic with these contracts, even though the game says to offer lower. I like to go realistic numbers, so that's what we will do. Lynn Bowden is next. Now, he is a pretty good receiver. I like him as that 3 or number 4 receiver. He fills in nicely when there is an injury. I will offer him a 2-year, $12 million deal, and he does accept that. I did decide to move on from KJ Hamler. We traded for him in that Tua Tagovailoa trade, but we decided not to keep him. And the reason why is because he dropped a lot of open passes, and I just wasn't happy with it. So those are the couple of guys we will re-sign. The rest of those guys you guys just saw will hit free agency, and here is the class. There are a couple of notable names at the top of this list, like CeeDee Lamb is there. We always have like one top-tier receiver every single free agency. I believe last year it was Tyreek Hill. This year it is CeeDee Lamb. I was surprised that the Cowboys did not sign CeeDee Lamb, though. I'm surprised he's even in free agency. But I would say this is actually like a pretty deep wide receiver or a halfback class if you really needed one. Now, I'm not sure what we need with halfback, but I think we just need somebody to kind of take the pressure off of TPH. He barely ran for 1,000 yards, so maybe that's something we'll have to look after. I think since Tyrod Taylor did retire, we need to add some quarterback depth, and Gardner Minshew is there in free agency. He is in his upper 20s, and now I would say he is in a position to be a good backup. So we are going to offer him a 1-year deal. It's not going to be too crazy. 1 year, $3 million deal, almost $3 million. I guess it's 2.55. And then we look at running back and receiver. There are some decent running backs. There are some really good receivers like Mike Evans and CeeDee Lamb. Now, I'm not sure if we would break the bank for any of these guys because we have bigger holes elsewhere like offensive line. We need to make sure we get. I also want to be realistic and seeing that some of these guys are probably looking to go break the bank. I'm not going to break the bank with a lot of these guys, but there are some decent ones like Donovan Peoples-Jones. He's pretty good. Paris Campbell is a fast receiver who I actually think may have underachieved a little bit in the NFL. I wouldn't even say a little bit. I'd say a lot of it because coming out of college, I thought he was going to be kind of a Deshaun Jackson type of guy. Maybe not as good as Deshaun Jackson, but at least comparable. He hasn't been that. Jalen Reagor is interesting. 88 catching. Very intriguing. So I think that Jalen Reagor is the option here. I'm going to offer him a 1 year, $5 million deal. We'll see where that lands. Now, you can see on the right there are top bids. Now, one thing I wish that Madden would change is that you can't see, where you rank as far as other teams, because when you're negotiating with these free agents in real life, you don't know how much the other teams offer them. You don't know how many points you get. I kind of want it to be like, hey, if they're interested, but you shouldn't be, measured up against other teams to show how interested they are. But whatever, we'll just deal with it. Only offer them one contract, and then if we get another opportunity in the next week, we'll offer them another. Now, Darius Slay is interesting. I like him because of his speed, and I do want to offer him a contract because we do need that speed on the outside. I think we got burnt on the outside with that speed. And then it gives us a chance to possibly move Byron Jones over to safety for his final year of his contract. I think he's just been a disappointing cornerback. He hasn't caused any turnovers, really. I think he's had 2 in this series, maybe 1. I think 1 in this series, to be honest with you. And I think that was last season number 2. So we will see what that does for us. And then I want to go after a center. Mitch Morris is very, very good. He is 32 years old, the same age as Paradis was when we signed him. So I want to go after Mitch Morris and hopefully bring him in, shore up that offensive line. I need at least one veteran offensive lineman to see what we get. So we do end up signing Mitch Morris. He accepts that contract. Darius Slay also was headed to Miami. I think that's a good fit for us. He is an excellent speed. He is another superstar dev player as well. And then Jalen Reagor actually declines our contract. So we decide to go and move Byron Jones to free safety now. That's where he originally started his career. And then Javon Holland will still play that sub linebacker position and also play starting strong safety. So I'm excited to see what Byron Jones can do at free. I think that he is going to be a good player there, especially with his zone and man coverage. I can also use him on cover 0. So we will get more pressure after the quarterback. And then Gardner Minshew ends up signing with us after that second week of free agency. We weren't too busy in free agency, but we did sign some pretty big needs there with a backup quarterback and a center. And now we will choose the private workouts. I said earlier that I would select Justin Parsons. He's at 55% completion, so I want to get that up at least closer to 80, like Luke Lynch is right here. He's 80. At least we know what he's going to be. He's going to be very, very good. I do want to get him to 100 to see exactly what his talent is. And then I will go after Bob Dorsey with the private workout also. So we do unlock his full attributes here, and Luke Lynch is a top 5 talent. I mean, the guy is incredible. It feels a lot more rewarding with this new scouting update to find somebody that's a top 5 talent in the 2nd or 3rd round. It feels really, really rewarding because now we know it's not 3 clicks of a button. You already know what talent they are. Now you have to actually scout them and actually be intentional with your scouting. Justin Parsons, for some reason, did not unlock any more. Even though he was a private workout guy, he still remains at 55% scouted. So he's going to remain a mystery, to be honest with you. And then Bob Dorsey, we got him at 80% now, and he looks really good. Play recognition at B, hit power at B. I think that's what he's going to be. He's going to be a box safety. So if we do end up going after him, we should know that's what he's going to be. Now, going into free agency back in now, CeeDee Lamb ends up signing with the Raiders, and that is a good signing for them. They had some more depth. Marcus Peters goes to the Raiders. J.J. Watt goes to the Cowboys. A very interesting move by him as well. Looking at some other guys, Gus Edwards goes to the Eagles. Grant Delpit is a free agent already. He goes to the Jaguars. Taylor Lewan goes to the Steelers. Sterling Shepard also goes to the Eagles, so they are loading up at receiver and offensive weapons. Matt Stafford to the Titans. A very surprising move right there, but he is still playing, and now we move on to draft season. So I think a big question going into this offseason was, what are we going to do with our tight ends? Now, we drafted Justin Castillo last offseason, and he ended up being Superstar X Factor after a preseason scenario where we got to upgrade his dev trait. It just makes too much sense to move on from Gesicki at this point. We have Castillo. We need to let him loose. He's one superstar, dev trait higher than Gesicki. And I want to find a new home for Gesicki. I don't want to just put him as the backup, and I kind of want to get some draft capital out of it. And the most we're getting is a second or third round. So I actually decide to deal him to the Dallas Cowboys for this second round pick next draft. So not this draft, but next draft. And maybe the quarterback of the future is not in this draft. Maybe it is. But I want to load up on draft capital maybe for next draft if we do not draft a quarterback this one, to see if we can get one next year. We might have to move up for one in next year's draft, but we'll see. So the next guy to really look at now is quarterback, and Justin Parsons might be there for our pick. He is projected to go to the Rams, but after dealing Mike Gesicki and getting that second round pick, is there a possibility that we use that to move up to possibly select Parsons? But then there is a guy here that has been moving up the draft boards in the draft process. It is Sonny Mcknight. You just saw right there that he moved up like 30 to 40 spots, and now he is projected in the second or third round. I'm guessing this is an early second now since he moved up that many spots. But looking at his ratings, great acceleration, good throw power, good speed. He has excellent athleticism. He was a third fastest in the 40. Justin Parsons was actually the fastest. So he's a guy to keep your eye on in the middle rounds as well, second or maybe third. So the first pick of the draft will go to the Lions, and they will select Lynn Williams, a left end. And then the Falcons are picking third, but Peter Christie, a left tackle, goes to the Colts. Now, going through these picks in the top 5 and at least the top 8, there were a lot of left tackles and defensive ends. You just see right there the first 5 picks were either a left tackle or a defensive end. The Chargers select a receiver to help out Justin Herbert, and he will go number 7 overall. Will Henry goes all the way to number 7 overall. I guess the receiver went number 6. Henry goes number 7. He was projected in that mock draft to go number 29. So that is interesting. Right away, we already see the new scouting update coming through with a mock draft where it was way off, actually. So then we look at the next picks. The Bengals end up selecting an outside linebacker. Austin Betts, a defensive tackle, goes to the Steelers. We're nearing our pick at pick 20. So here are the Patriots. They choose Stephen Washington, a right end. And we want to watch closely what our divisional teams do. Looks like the Packers are on the clock. They select a defensive tackle, so they will stick with their quarterback, Jordan Love. And then now here is the Rams pick. I'm going to let them select, and they do end up selecting Justin Parsons. It's unlikely that we would have made a trade right there with the Rams because they obviously wanted their quarterback. But I think that just kind of makes our next pick a lot easier. And it's going to be Luke Lynch. He is a top 5 talent. There is no debate here who we should go after. I mean, absolutely no debate. If it wasn't Justin Parsons, the quarterback, he was a first-round talent more than likely. It was going to be Luke Lynch, the guy that blocked for Justin Parsons for 4 years at least 3 years. And now we select him. Now, it no longer shows the rating right away, but we can see his athletic ratings, 87 strength, 83 acceleration. And we already know what his skills are, so I'm pretty sure that he's going to be a mid to high 70s overall rookie right away. So we move on to our next pick, which is pick number 4 in the second round. And you can just see right now there are no quarterbacks going off of the board. And now we pick at round 2, pick 4. And honestly, at this spot, since we did not get the quarterback, I just don't see a need to draft here. So I want to see if we can, like I said, acquire some more capital to possibly trade for a quarterback next draft and to move up, because we saw that this is kind of a one quarterback draft where there's one quarterback ahead of the field and then everybody else there. So I am actually going to trade this pick, and I will trade it to the Jets. The Jets will trade us a first-round pick for next year. And I'm not sure if the Jets will be that good next year, so this first-round pick might actually be a top 15 pick. So they actually draft Zach Weathersby with that pick, an interesting pick right there for defensive tackle. And we have the number 20 pick, and we end up seeing at pick number 13 in the second round, Ryan Crowder, who was a second-rated quarterback in this draft, goes at pick number 13, 7 picks ahead of us. So then that leads us to quarterback. Now, I acquired these picks to hopefully trade up for a quarterback, but now I have my eyes on Sonny Mcknight. He is an excellent mobile quarterback, much like Justin Parsons at Virginia, but I think Sonny Mcknight is going to be a little bit more of a project, but I'm not mad at that. Like, if we draft a guy here that may require development a little bit, I'm not so mad at that, especially if we get our quarterback of the future. He is very, very mobile. He ran the read option a whole lot in college, and that's one thing that he will have to get used to, running that pro-style offense. And Georgia does a good job of running pro-style offenses with their quarterbacks. So I'm interested now. Now, I look at the teams ahead of us and who is possibly going to select a quarterback. I look at the Buccaneers. They are a candidate. They have Drew Lock at quarterback right now. He is 27 at 74 overall. He is a possible destination for a quarterback here, so I want to keep an eye on that. So I decide with the Patriots on the clock right now, the Buccaneers are likely, maybe, to select a quarterback, so I decide to trade up. I trade our second-round pick and our fourth-round pick this year to move up about 6 spots ahead of the Buccaneers, and we will select Sonny Mcknight. I am just interested. I'm intrigued. He has a B throw short accuracy, and we will select him here. 88 acceleration, 90 throw power, which is actually pretty good, to be honest. That's higher than Kellen Mond and Tua both had. So I like Sonny Mcknight with this pick. I think that this is a guy that we can develop. And like I said, I acquired the picks for next draft. Now we might not need to trade up for a quarterback, but we might need to use those picks to possibly trade up for something else. Maybe there's another superstar in the draft. At least we have the capital now to trade up next year to possibly get another guy. And I really like Sonny Mcknight. He might be the next big thing in Miami. We'll have to see, but he will take some development for sure. Now, our next pick, since we traded that fourth round and second round pick for that second round pick to move up, our next pick is in the fifth. And our entire draft board right now is gone. It's absolutely gone. I think the strategy in doing the scouting update and adding guys to the draft board is just to have a bunch of guys on your board and just note a bunch of them. And I think I didn't note a whole lot, so I had to do a little bit of scouting here, going through the draft in real time. And just looking at some guys, I really do want a running back to hopefully spell Terrence Pitt Howard. And we do have Bernard Rambo, and he is pretty good, but I want to add some more speed. And George Green out of Georgia, who played next to Sonny Mcknight, is the guy I'm going to choose with this selection. He has excellent breakaway speed. He played, like I said, with Sonny Mcknight. He has that chemistry. So we will go after him here with this fifth round pick. I think it's a good value pick in the fifth round, and we will select him. He ends up being 90 speed. I thought he was going to be a little bit faster, but with 91 acceleration and 87 change of direction, which is pretty good, I think that this is a guy that will develop into something. He's 21 years old, so we still got a lot of youth left with him. Now on to our second fifth round pick, and a lot of the guys that we scouted, like I said, and really focused on are gone, so we will have to look at other guys. And I'm looking at San Diego State's Bruce Sharper, who is a strong safety, a box safety type of player, and I like him right now. He is a guy that I can develop. 89 speed, 89 acceleration, and his change of direction is very low at 71. I'm not sure how that will work on defense, but we pick him there. Hopefully he turns into something. Now in the sixth round, I'm thinking about tight end. We did just trade Mike Gesicki, which will leave Hunter. I'm about to say Hunter Henry. I have no idea why I call him Hunter Henry, and also Justin Castillo at our tight end. So we really have two tight ends. So I'm thinking about going tight end here, and I'm just looking at some athletic guys. How about Larry Richardson was first in the draft for tight ends for 40-yard dashes. I do want an athletic guy, but I still do want a guy that can block as well. Steven Rodgers is there, and then there's Braden Hurst as well. Braden Hurst is more of a blocking tight end. But I decided to go with Steven Rodgers. I was looking at some of those guys. They all had similar traits, and I kind of just guessed at this point, and he ended up being pretty good. 85 speed, 87 acceleration. He was a guy that was used in that up-tempo spread offense that Oregon runs. So I think that's what I counted on here, him being athletic, playing in that offense, and really hopefully developing his blocking skills in the NFL. He's not going to start, like I said, right away, not even at all. He might just be a career-long backup for us, because we do have Justin Castillo, who will be a star for us. I'm excited to see him in a complete starting role. No Gesicki looking over his shoulder or anything like that. And we will draft him. One more draft pick now in this draft, a 7th-round pick. And I am once again looking at tight end. I think we should just double down on it. Why not? There's a bunch of guys that moved up the board. I'm not sure when they say that they moved up the board like 100 spots. You can see some of these guys, Ben Kelly only 21 spots, Trey Moore 99 spots, some guys 100-plus spots. I'm not sure like what that exactly means, if that means in the draft process they moved up a lot. But we decided to go with Braden Hurst. He is a blocking tight end. I said I wanted to get at least one blocking tight end, so we will go after him. His speed is his biggest concern. He's not the most athletic guy, but like I said, he's going to be in on goal line packages. We'll even see if he even does that. I mean, if he makes the squad, he will definitely have to make it first. But I'm excited about this draft class. We made some good trades. We had 2 picks in the top, 50 picks. So we did pretty good for what we had. Luke Lynch ends up being exactly what I thought he would be. Very, very good all around, and that is a good, encouraging sign. Also, the 99 injury, which definitely helps because you don't want to have injuries on the offensive line. I do plan on dropping injuries down like a couple of ticks. I liked the frequency of the injuries. I just didn't like the duration. I didn't like how I had multiple defensive linemen missing multiple games at the same time. Didn't like that. And especially when we had a lot of guys rotating in, I'm surprised that we had those injuries. Now, Sonny Mcknight in the 2nd round ends up being 64 overall, a guy that we can develop. But just think about it. Kellen Mond, when we acquired him, was 68 overall, so not big of a difference, not that big of a difference. But we will see what he develops into. He is 6'2", not as tall as Kellen Mond, obviously, but he does have the athleticism, so I'm excited to see what he develops into. We possibly have our quarterback of the future, and he gets to play next to his running mate in college, George Green. 59 overall is a little disappointing, so we'll have to develop his skills. His short route running and his catching is actually very good. Now, I don't know why it shows morale going down one. I don't know what the deal with that is. I think that's corrected when you do start the regular season or at least the preseason. Bruce Sharper ends up being 56 overall. This was probably our worst pick here, and I'm not sure if he will make the team, to be honest with you. He was a 5th-round pick, not a huge investment, but I do like the pick of Steven Rodgers. He has 85 speed, 76 catching, 87 acceleration. I think that that's a guy that we can develop. With that depth at tight end, I think that he's a guy that I can definitely depend on to be that number 2 or number 3. I think he will have a good chance of competing with Hunter. And now we move on to our last pick, Braden Hurst. Like I said, I don't think this is a terrible pick. I mean, he's not great. He's probably not going to make the team initially. He'd probably be on the practice squad. But as a 7th-round pick, having a tight end that can block, I mean, you got to have a well-rounded team, not just guys that will score touchdowns and do all that stuff. Sometimes you need the guys that will block as well, do the dirty work. So the top pick, Williams, ends up being decent. He wasn't even the best player on the board. Demarius Pryor was very good. He was 77 overall. He was drafted by the Bucs at pick number 14. And I want to take a look at Justin Parsons now. He ends up being 74 overall. That morale thing, I'm not really sure, puts his overall down too, but I think that's corrected when you start the preseason. 88 speed, so he is a very good, a very mobile quarterback, I should say. Break sack at 87. I bet that's going to come in handy. But drafting Sonny Mcknight ended up being better than drafting Ryan Crowder, who ended up with 61 overall. Sonny Mcknight ended up being actually 4 overall higher because with the morale decrease, he's actually at 65. So actually not a bad pick right there. And then I'm interested to see who the Jets picked up with that pick they traded up to get. They traded a 1st-round pick for a 70 overall defensive tackle. He better be good. Otherwise, Jets fans might not be happy that they traded up to get him at the top of the second round. So I do end up moving Luke Lynch over to left guard since we signed Mitch Morris in free agency. He ends up being really good there. And now he will get to block for a new quarterback. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be the same Kellen Mond? Is it going to be Gardner Minshew? Or is it going to be the new rookie, Sonny Mcknight? I'm not really sure. I think preseason will tell a lot. I will definitely have a preseason episode, and that will be the quarterback battle mostly. I do have some other battles I want to settle as well, but I think quarterback is the main one. Kellen Mond is only 5 overall higher than Sonny Mcknight and only 1 overall higher than Gardner Minshew. I mean, this is going to be a close race. I signed Gardner Minshew to be a backup, but now I'm not so sure. I mean, what if he has the best preseason and our starting quarterback is Gardner Minshew? It is definitely a possibility, but a second-round investment in Sonny Mcknight isn't significant, but it's definitely high. So at some point, he's going to get a shot. Now, I think another competition is really going to be in the middle of our defense. I like Jerome Baker, but he hasn't made the impact that I would hope a middle linebacker would have. So preseason, watch out for Marcus Humblecut, who will get an opportunity to play once again. He was a starter in year two, and then kind of took a year, a back seat to Baker and Chris Barnes. So I hope you guys enjoyed the offseason. That was a whole lot of fun. There was a lot in there, and I think we made some good moves. Let me know what you guys think of the offseason. And what you guys think of the Dolphins? What's your prediction? Well, don't put your prediction yet. I think after preseason, put your prediction because I want to see, what we look like in preseason first before we start going that far. So hit subscribe, hit that like button. Hope you guys enjoyed the offseason. Stay tuned. Let's get it. Let's go.
I like getting money, I got time to get it. Target on me, so my car's a tenant. Dancing with the devil, I don't bargain with it. Bobbing in the dash, and the stick is with it. And I hit the 4-5 on the west side. But I'm from the east side, this how we slide. This how we ride, yeah, this how we